The pregnancy test sat on Claire Morrison's desk like a loaded gun. 11:47 p.m. Rain hammered the windows of the 42nd floor. Below, Seattle glittered through the downpour lights, smearing across glass and steel. Claire stood at the window, one hand pressed against the cold pane, the other curled protectively over her stomach. 42 floors down felt like falling. Through her reflection, she could see the only other light still burning on the executive floor. Ethan Cole's desk lamp. He was always here late. So was she. 2 islands in an ocean of empty cubicles. She'd never noticed before how lonely that looked. The test had shown positive an hour ago. 3 times, actually. She'd taken 3 tests because her hands wouldn't stop shaking, and surely one of them had to be wrong. But science didn't lie. Biology didn't care about boardrooms or morality clauses or the fact that she'd spent 14 years building something that could collapse in a single Friday morning meeting. Claire turned from the window. The test gleamed white and damning under the desk lamp. Tomorrow, she'd have to tell someone. Tomorrow, everything would change. Morning came too fast. Claire's office smelled like expensive coffee and the faint citrus of her perfume. She'd been sitting at her desk for 20 minutes staring at the test when she heard the knock. "Come in." Ethan stepped through the doorway. Tired eyes, good suit, slightly rumpled. He carried a tablet and wore the expression of someone expecting a normal Wednesday morning check-in. "You wanted to see me." Claire didn't answer immediately. She studied him the way she'd studied 100-page contracts looking for loopholes, weaknesses, anything that might tell her if this was a terrible idea. Ethan Cole, 35, senior product manager, widower, single father to an 8-year-old daughter named Lily, who sometimes waited in the lobby after school doing homework in the leather chairs while her dad finished presentations. He was good at his job, better than good. He saw problems 3 steps ahead, spoke truth to power when others wouldn't, and never made excuses. He also hadn't dated anyone since his wife died 4 years ago. Claire slid the pregnancy test across the polished mahogany. Ethan's eyes dropped to it. His expression didn't change, but something shifted in the air between them. A held breath, a question forming. "The board meets Friday," Claire said. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "I know. Daniel's been pushing them for months. Now he has his excuse." Ethan looked up. "It's 2025. They can't." He trailed off. They both knew better. "Morality clause," Claire said. The words tasted bitter. Daniel's father wrote it into the corporate charter in 1982. Unmarried executives representing the company must maintain certain standards of personal conduct. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Ironic. I've given them 14 years. What about the father? There is no father." Claire's fingers drummed once against the desk, an old nervous habit. Not anymore. Not in any way that matters. Rain picked up again outside. The windows rattled softly. "Corporate retreat," Claire said quietly. "Cascade Mountains. This weekend. Everyone brings someone." Ethan's jaw tightened slightly. "Your fiancé?" "There is no fiancé. There hasn't been, not really, not for a while." The silence stretched. Claire could hear her own heartbeat, the rain, the distant hum of the building's ventilation system. Everything felt too loud. "What are you asking me?" Ethan said finally. Claire met his eyes. "Don't let me walk in there alone. If you're wondering what Ethan will say, hit that like button and drop a comment below with your prediction. And subscribe so you don't miss what happens next when these two face the retreat that will change everything." Ethan stood in the doorway of his apartment that evening, keys still in hand, watching Lily sprawl across the living room floor with her math homework. Piano music drifted from the speaker. Something classical. Anna used to play these pieces while cooking dinner. He'd stopped playing them for a year after she died, then started again because the silence felt worse. "Dad?" Lily looked up, pencil poised over a division problem. "You're home early. It's 7:30. Early for you," she grinned, gap-toothed and knowing. At 8 years old, she already understood too much about his schedule. "Did Miss Morrison let you leave on time?" Ethan set his briefcase down. The question felt loaded in ways his daughter couldn't possibly understand. "Actually, I need to talk to you about Miss Morrison." Lily sat up straighter, homework forgotten. "Is she in trouble?" "No." "Why would you think that?" "Because you have your serious face." Lily tilted her head, studying him with Anna's dark eyes. "The one you use when something's wrong but you're trying to pretend it's not." 8 years old. Too perceptive by half. Ethan sat down on the couch. The framed photo of Anna caught his eye from the bookshelf. Smiling, alive, frozen at 31. Some days he could barely remember the sound of her voice. "Miss Morrison and I have to go on a work trip this weekend," he said carefully. "A retreat up in the mountains. You'll stay with Grandma and Grandpa." "Okay." Lily waited. She knew there was more. "The thing is, people at work think Miss Morrison and I are dating." Lily's eyebrows shot up. "Are you?" "No, but we're going to pretend we are, just for the weekend." "Why?" "How did you explain corporate politics to an 8-year-old? How did you explain morality clauses and board meetings and the fact that sometimes good people needed help because the world was unfair?" "Miss Morrison needs a friend right now," Ethan said. "And sometimes being a good friend means helping someone when things are hard." Lily considered this. "Is she nice? Like Mom was nice?" The question caught him off guard. "Different kind of nice." "Different how?" Ethan searched for words. "Your mom was warm, like summer. Miss Morrison is—" He paused, thinking of Claire standing at those floor-to-ceiling windows alone at midnight, carrying the weight of a company and a pregnancy and a scandal she didn't deserve. Like the first day after a storm. Everything sharp and clear. Lily nodded slowly as if this made perfect sense. "Does she make you happy?" "I don't know yet." "Then you should find out." Lily returned to her homework with the absolute certainty only children possessed. "Mom would want you to be happy again." Ethan stared at his daughter. When had she gotten so wise on the bookshelf? Anna's photo seemed to smile at him through the glass. He thought about what she'd said during those final weeks when morphine made her honest and fierce. "Promise me you won't hide," she'd whispered, gripping his hand with whatever strength the cancer hadn't stolen. "Promise me you'll let someone in eventually. Lily needs to see that love doesn't end. It just changes shape." He'd promised. He'd also spent 4 years avoiding that promise. Maybe it was time to stop. Across town, Claire stood in her penthouse packing for a weekend that felt like walking into a firing squad. The Space Needle glowed against the night sky outside her windows. Rain streaked the glass. Always rain in Seattle. Some people found it depressing. Claire found it honest. At least rain didn't pretend to be something it wasn't. Her phone buzzed. Dr. Yolanda Chen, her OB-GYN. "Yes," Claire said without preamble. "I'm keeping it. No, there's no father in the picture. Yes, I understand the risks at my age. Yes, I'll take the prenatal vitamins." She ended the call and stared at the empty apartment. 2,200 square feet of minimalist luxury. Granite countertops, designer furniture art she'd bought because her decorator said it was investment worthy. It looked like a hotel. She'd never noticed that before. Claire opened her laptop intending to review talking points for the retreat. Instead, she found herself pulling up the financial reports from Daniel Drake's division. Something had been bothering her for weeks. Small inconsistencies, numbers that didn't quite align. She pulled up the raw data, bypassing the summary reports Daniel submitted to the board. There, medical trial expenses, budget overruns every quarter for the past 18 months. But when she cross-referenced against actual trial enrollment numbers, the math didn't work. The costs were inflated by nearly 30%. Claire's fingers flew across the keyboard. She pulled quarterly reports, vendor contracts, wire transfer records. The pattern emerged like bones beneath skin, money flowing out to legitimate vendors, then bouncing back through shell companies, payments to offshore accounts in the Caymans, Singapore, Luxembourg. $8 million, maybe more. Daniel wasn't just incompetent, he was stealing. Her phone buzzed again. Security notification from her building. Alert: unauthorized access attempt unit 4205-2:14 a.m. Tuesday. Her unit, 2 nights ago. Claire's blood went cold. She'd been at the office until 3 that night preparing presentations. Someone had tried to get into her apartment while she was gone. She pulled up the security camera footage. A figure in a maintenance uniform, face obscured by a baseball cap, using a keycard at her door. The card didn't work. The figure tried 3 times, then left. That wasn't maintenance. Maintenance would have called first. Someone was looking for something. Claire ejected a red USB drive from her laptop and copied everything. Financial records, wire transfers, shell company documentation, emails between Daniel and vendors. Every piece of evidence she could find. She stared at the drive. This could destroy Daniel. It could also save her job. It could also get her killed if Daniel was desperate enough. Her hand drifted unconsciously to her stomach. 6 weeks pregnant. Barely anything yet. Just cells dividing, a heartbeat forming. But already hers. Already worth protecting. Claire packed the USB drive into her makeup bag, buried beneath compacts and lipsticks. Tomorrow, she'd give it to Ethan. Tomorrow, she'd trust someone for the first time in years. The rain intensified outside. Thunder rumbled somewhere over Puget Sound. Friday morning. The Tesla hummed north on I-90, cutting through rain that turned the Cascade Mountains into watercolor smudges. Ethan drove. Claire sat in the passenger seat, watching raindrops race across the window. She'd never let anyone else drive her car. Control was currency, and she never gave it away lightly. But her hands wouldn't stop shaking. "Pull over," she said suddenly. "What's wrong? Just pull over." Ethan guided the Tesla onto a scenic overlook. Below them, a valley disappeared into mist. Ancient Douglas firs climbed the mountainsides like cathedral columns. Claire unbuckled her seatbelt and turned to face him. "You need to know what you're walking into." She pulled the red USB drive from her purse and held it up. "Daniel's been moving money. Offshore accounts, shell companies, falsified vendor contracts, using our medical trial budgets to cover it up." Ethan's expression hardened. "How much?" $8 million, possibly more. I only had time for a preliminary audit. Claire's voice stayed steady through force of will. "If something happens to me this weekend, you need to get this to the SEC. My contact there is Dr. Patricia Reeves. Her information's on the drive." "Nothing's going to happen. My apartment was broken into Tuesday night." The words landed like stones in water. Ethan went very still. "Nothing was taken," Claire continued. "But my files were searched. They were looking for this." She pressed the drive into his palm. "Daniel knows I found something. He just doesn't know what yet." Ethan closed his fingers around the USB. His hand was warm, steady. "Then we make sure he never finds out." Their hands were still touching. Claire became acutely aware of it. The warmth, the contact. How long had it been since someone had touched her with simple kindness? Marcus had touched her like she was a business acquisition. Careful, strategic, always calculating return on investment. This felt different. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for doing this. I know it's asking a lot." You've asked me for nothing in 4 years. Ethan's thumb brushed across her knuckles, just once, barely noticeable. You gave me flexible hours when Lily had surgery. You fought HR for my parental leave when Anna was dying. You mentored me when everyone else saw liability. He met her eyes. So, yeah, I'll walk into that retreat with you. I'll pretend to be your boyfriend, and I'll make damn sure Daniel doesn't get what he wants. Lightning flickered in the distance. The storm was moving closer. We should go, Claire said, but neither of them moved. Rain drummed on the roof. The Tesla's climate control hummed softly. Outside, the world was gray and green and alive with water. Claire, Ethan said, just her name, but the way he said it made her breath catch. Then he released her hand, put the car in drive, and they continued up the mountain. The Cascade Ridge Lodge materialized from the mist like something out of a fairy tale. Massive timber beams, river rock chimneys, floor-to-ceiling windows that reflected the surrounding forest. Warm light spilled from every window, promising safety from the storm. Claire's stomach clenched as Ethan pulled into the circular drive. Remember, she said softly, we're a couple. We've been dating for 3 months. We're taking things slow because of Lily. I know the story, and if anyone asks about, I'll deflect. I'm good at deflecting. Claire took a breath and opened her door. Rain immediately soaked her hair, her shoulders. She didn't care. The cold felt clarifying. Ethan appeared at her side with an umbrella. He offered his arm. Shall we? Claire slipped her hand through the crook of his elbow. The gesture felt surprisingly natural. They walked up the stone steps together. Through the windows, she could see her executive team mingling in the great room. Laughter, firelight, the easy camaraderie of people who belonged. Claire had never quite belonged anywhere. The door opened before they reached it. Daniel Drake stood in the entrance, wine glass in hand, smile sharp as broken glass. Claire, you made it. He was 32 but carried himself older. Expensive suit, Harvard MBA. The kind of confidence that came from never being told no. His father owned 40% of Morrison and Drake. Daniel had inherited the name, the stock, and apparently the belief that everything was his by birthright. His eyes slid to Ethan. And you brought IT support, product management, Ethan corrected mildly. Right, the widower. Daniel's smile didn't waver. How's your daughter handling things? Single-parent life must be. He paused, savoring the word. Limiting. The threat was subtle, unmistakable. Claire felt Ethan tense beside her. She squeezed his arm gently. Lily's wonderful, she said smoothly. Ethan's an exceptional father, one of the many things I admire about him. She leaned into Ethan slightly, a gesture of intimacy that felt less like acting than it should have. Daniel's eyes narrowed. How lovely. Well, don't let me keep you. Cocktails are in the great room. Dinner at 7. He stepped aside, still smiling. As they passed, Claire heard him murmur something to the man beside him. She caught only fragments. Desperate and inappropriate and won't last the weekend. The great room was magnificent. A stone fireplace, large enough to stand in, dominated one wall. Flames danced across oak logs, casting amber light across leather furniture and Navajo rugs. 30 executives mingled with wine and craft cocktails, their laughter echoing off the vaulted ceiling. Every face turned when Claire and Ethan entered. The conversations didn't stop exactly, but they changed. Voices dropped. Eyes tracked their movement. Claire felt the weight of their judgment. Unmarried, pregnant, dating an employee. Each transgression stacked like cordwood, ready to burn. She lifted her chin and smiled. Claire, Jennifer Park, VP of Marketing, approached with genuine warmth. "I'm so glad you came. And this must be Ethan. I've heard wonderful things about the new product roadmap." "Thank you." Ethan shook her hand. His posture had changed, more relaxed. His hand rested naturally at the small of Claire's back. The engineering team deserves most of the credit. Modest. I like that. Jennifer winked at Claire. "You picked a good one." They moved through the crowd. Ethan was better at this than Claire expected. He made small talk, remembered names, laughed at mediocre jokes. His hand never left her back. The contact felt grounding. Claire found herself studying him, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled. The laugh lines that suggested humor had once come easily. The wedding ring he no longer wore, but whose absence still showed in a pale band around his finger. "You're staring," he murmured. Couples stare at each other. Fair point. Dinner was elaborate. Herb-crusted salmon, roasted vegetables, local wines. Claire pushed food around her plate, her stomach too knotted for eating. Morning sickness had been mild so far, but anxiety accomplished what hormones couldn't. She was acutely aware of Daniel 3 seats down watching her with the patience of a hunting cat. After dinner, people gathered around the fire. Someone suggested a game. 2 truths and a lie. Then never have I ever. Corporate bonding through manufactured vulnerability. Claire excused herself to the restroom. When she returned, Ethan was standing on the deck outside alone, staring at the lake. She slipped through the door. Rain had stopped, leaving the air clean and pine-scented. Stars scattered across the sky like broken glass. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah, just needed air." He turned to face her. "This is harder than I thought. The pretending, the not pretending." Claire's breath caught. "Ethan, I know it's not real. I know we're here because you need help and I'm convenient and safe and I won't complicate things." He ran a hand through his hair. "But standing there with my hand on your back, introducing you as my girlfriend, listening to you talk about admiring me." He trailed off. It didn't feel like acting. The lake stretched before them, black and depthless. Somewhere an owl called. "We should go inside," Claire said. "Yeah." Neither of them moved. "Tomorrow night," Ethan said quietly, "after the team-building exercises and the forced fun, let's take a walk, just us. No audience." "Okay, okay." They stood in comfortable silence until the cold drove them back inside. The lodge provided adjacent suites. Expensive, tasteful, connected by a door that could be locked from either side. Claire stood in her room unpacking when she heard the knock. She opened the connecting door. Ethan stood there in sweatpants and a t-shirt, looking more like himself than he had all evening. "I couldn't sleep," he said. "Me neither." "Want to talk strategy for tomorrow?" They ended up sitting on her bed, laptops open, reviewing the doctored financial reports Daniel would present. Ethan's software was better than hers. He showed her how to see the metadata, the edit history, the digital fingerprints proving the numbers had been changed. "This is enough," Claire said. "This proves he's lying." But not why or where the money went. Ethan pulled up a spreadsheet. "We need bank records, wire transfers, the paper trail." Daniel's assistant might help, Megan Parker. She's been unhappy since he took over the division. Thinks she'd talk to us, maybe, if we're careful. They worked until 2 in the morning. Somewhere during the 3rd hour, Claire's head drooped onto Ethan's shoulder. She jerked awake. "Sorry, I'm exhausted." "You're growing a human. You're allowed to be exhausted." He closed his laptop. "Get some sleep. I'll see you tomorrow." At the connecting door, he paused. "Claire, yeah." Anna used to say that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is ask for help. His smile was sad and gentle. I'm glad you asked me. I'm glad you said yes." After he left, Claire lay in the dark, listening to rain start again on the roof. Through the wall, she could hear Ethan moving around in his room, getting ready for bed. The mundane sounds of another human existing in proximity. She hadn't realized how much she'd missed that. Her phone buzzed. Calendar notification. Board meeting Friday, 6:00 a.m., video conference. Her stomach dropped. That was tomorrow, 7 hours from now. Daniel wasn't waiting for the weekend to end. He was moving now. Claire grabbed her phone and texted Ethan. "Emergency board meeting, 6 a.m. This is it." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. "I'll be ready. We'll fight this together." Claire set the phone down and stared at the ceiling. Rain drummed steadily. The lodge creaked and settled. Somewhere down the hall, someone laughed. Outside her door, footsteps passed. Paused. Continued. She told herself it was nothing. She told herself they were safe here. But the USB drive in her makeup bag felt like a loaded weapon, and sleep was a long time coming. Claire's alarm went off at 5:30 a.m. She silenced it and lay in the dark listening to rain hammer the windows. Her laptop sat on the desk already open. She'd given up on sleep around 4 and spent the last 90 minutes rehearsing what she'd say. How she'd defend herself. How she'd expose Daniel's lies without revealing she had evidence. It wouldn't work. She knew that. Daniel had been planning this for months. She'd had less than a week. Through the connecting door, she heard movement. Ethan was awake too. She rose and pulled on a robe. When she opened the door, Ethan was sitting on his bed with his own laptop, wearing glasses she'd never seen him wear before. He looked younger with them on, more vulnerable. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey, you ready?" "No." He smiled without humor. "Me neither." Claire sat beside him. He showed her his screen. Recording software running in test mode. Audio levels peaking in the green. Video capture enabled. "The board won't know I'm recording," he said. "My camera will be off, microphone muted, but I'll capture everything they say, every document they share. That might not be admissible in court. We're not going to court, not yet. We're gathering ammunition." He adjusted his glasses. "When Daniel presents his doctored reports, don't argue the numbers, not directly. Ask questions instead. Make him explain. The more he talks, the more he'll contradict himself." Claire nodded. Her hands were shaking again. Ethan noticed. He took her hands in his, steadying them. "You're the smartest person in any room you walk into," he said, "including this one. Don't let them make you forget that." At 5:58, Claire positioned herself at the desk in her suite. Hair pulled back. Tailored blouse. Camera angled to show professionalism, competence, control. She looked nothing like she felt. At 6:00 exactly, the video conference began. 10 faces appeared in boxes on her screen. Board members. Daniel's father, Richard Drake, in the center square. His expression was granite. "Thank you for joining us on short notice, Claire." Richard's voice carried the weight of old money and older judgments. "We have concerns about your division's recent performance." Claire kept her face neutral. "I'm happy to address any questions." "Stephen, if you would." Richard nodded to the CFO. Stephen Huang, a man Claire had worked with for 12 years, wouldn't meet her eyes as he shared his screen. Spreadsheets appeared. Financial reports. Performance metrics. All wrong. Claire's division showed in red. 23% below projections. Cost overruns in every category. Failed product launches. Declining market share. None of it was true. "As you can see," Stephen said, his voice apologetic but firm, "Q3 results are significantly below target. Marketing spend is up 40% with minimal return. R&D costs have ballooned beyond approved budgets. Claire's mind raced. These were her reports, but the numbers had been changed, skillfully. Someone had access to the original files and had modified them so subtly that the changes looked like her own work. "Those figures are incorrect," she said carefully. "My actual Q3 report shows division performance at 107% of target. I submitted it 2 weeks ago. This is your report." Stephen highlighted a date stamp. "Submitted October 15th, your digital signature." Claire's stomach dropped. They'd forged it. Somehow they'd replicated her access credentials and created a fake report with her name on it. "I'd like to see the original file metadata," she said. "Claire." Richard's voice carried warning. "Are you suggesting our CFO is lying? I'm suggesting there's been an error in the reporting chain." An error. Daniel spoke for the first time. He sat beside his father, expression carefully concerned. "Claire, I think we all understand you're under enormous stress right now. Personal matters can affect professional judgment. No one's blaming you." The sympathy in his voice was poison. "My judgment is sound," Claire said evenly. "Is it?" Another board member spoke. Patricia Caldwell, who'd voted against Claire's promotion 3 times. "Because from where we're sitting, a woman who gets pregnant out of wedlock and shows up to a corporate retreat with a subordinate doesn't display the kind of judgment we expect from our CEO." The words hung in the air like smoke. Claire's face went hot. "My personal life has no bearing on my professional performance." "Doesn't it?" Patricia leaned forward. "The morality clause exists for a reason. Leadership requires trust. How can we trust someone who can't manage her own life? Enough." Richard raised a hand. "Claire, we're not here to attack you. We're here because the board has lost confidence in your ability to lead effectively during this transitional period." He paused. "We're asking you to step down temporarily, 6 months. Take time for your personal situation. When you're ready, we can discuss reinstatement." Translation: resign or be fired. "And who would take my place?" Claire asked, though she already knew. "Daniel has graciously offered to serve as interim CEO. Of course he had." Claire looked at the faces on her screen. Some sympathetic, some uncomfortable. None willing to fight for her. "I'd like 24 hours to consider your request," she said. "Claire," Richard's voice hardened. "This isn't a negotiation. Then it's a termination, which requires cause, which requires documentation of performance issues over time, not a single questionable financial report." Claire's voice stayed level through sheer will. "I know the bylaws, Richard. You wrote them. So, unless you're prepared to fire me for cause and face the lawsuit that follows, I'm entitled to 24 hours. Silence. Richard's jaw worked. "Fine, 24 hours. We reconvene tomorrow morning at 6. The screens went black. Claire sat in the sudden quiet, staring at her reflection in the dark laptop. She looked pale, shaken, defeated. Then the connecting door opened and Ethan walked in carrying his laptop. "I got all of it." They spent the next 2 hours reviewing the recording. Ethan's software had captured everything. The doctored reports, Patricia's discriminatory comments, Richard's threats thinly veiled as requests. "This proves they're railroading you," Ethan said. "But it doesn't prove why. We need to connect Daniel to the embezzlement. We need his assistant." Claire pulled up her phone and found Megan Parker's number. The young woman had worked for Daniel for 18 months. Smart, ambitious, increasingly uncomfortable with what she saw. "I'll text her, casual, see if she'll meet us." The response came back in minutes. "Coffee shop, town of Roslyn, noon, come alone." "She's scared," Ethan observed. "She should be." They told the other executives they were driving into town for supplies. No one questioned it. Corporate retreats always had people escaping for cell service and better coffee. The drive down the mountain took 40 minutes. Rain had stopped, but the roads were slick, lined with runoff. Ethan navigated the curves with steady hands while Claire stared out the window, watching trees blur past. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "That I've spent 14 years building something that can be destroyed in a single morning." She touched the window glass. Cold, unforgiving. "That maybe I should have seen this coming. Daniel's good at hiding what he is. I hired him 2 years ago. His father pushed for it, but I could have said no." Claire's laugh was bitter. "I thought I was being magnanimous, bringing in fresh perspectives, building bridges with the old guard. You can't blame yourself for trusting people. In business, trust is weakness. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard you say." Claire looked at him. Ethan's eyes stayed on the road, but his expression was troubled. "You don't trust anyone?" he asked. "I trust competence, I trust contracts, I trust leverage. What about people?" Claire didn't answer. The coffee shop was exactly what she expected. Small, local, the kind of place where tourists stopped for artisanal lattes and locals came for regular coffee and gossip. Megan Parker sat in a corner booth laptop, closed fingers wrapped around a mug like it might escape. She was 28, sharp-featured with the kind of intelligence that showed in restless eyes. She looked up when they entered. Her face went pale. "You brought him." "Ethan can be trusted," Claire said, sliding into the booth. "Whatever you tell us stays between us." Megan glanced around the shop. 2 other customers. Barista absorbed in her phone. She leaned forward and spoke quietly. "I know what Daniel's doing. I've known for months." She pulled a USB drive from her purse. Different from Claire's. Blue instead of red. "I've been documenting everything. Wire transfers, shell company registrations, falsified vendor invoices." Her voice shook. "It's not just embezzlement. He's been using company funds to pay gambling debts. Serious debts. To people who don't accept payment plans." Ethan took the drive carefully. "How much does he owe? 3 million. Maybe more. He's been covering it by inflating medical trial costs and skimming the difference. But the trials are wrapping up. Soon there won't be anything to skim." Megan's eyes found Claire. "Your division's budget is his exit strategy. If he controls it, he can keep the money flowing long enough to either pay off the debts or disappear." Claire's mind raced through implications. "The people he owes, who are they? I don't know names, but they're not businessmen. They're—" Megan swallowed. "My apartment was broken into last week. Nothing taken. Just a message left on my bathroom mirror. Silence is golden. The same as Claire's break-in. Different message, same meaning." "You need to go to the police," Ethan said, "and tell them that I've been covering for my boss's crimes for 18 months, that I have evidence I obtained by accessing his private files without authorization." Megan shook her head. "I'm an accomplice, at best." "You're a witness," Claire corrected. "With evidence. That makes you valuable. Or a liability." Megan stood abruptly. "I've given you everything I have. What you do with it is up to you. But be careful. Daniel knows you're digging. He's desperate. And desperate people do terrible things." She left without looking back. Claire and Ethan sat in silence. Around them, the coffee shop continued its mundane morning. Espresso machine hissing, indie music playing. Life happening to people who weren't sitting on evidence that could destroy lives. "We have enough," Ethan said finally. "Between your files and Megan's, we can bury him. We have to survive the weekend first." They returned to the lodge at 3 in the afternoon. The retreat had moved into team-building exercises. Trust falls. Problem-solving challenges. the kind of forced bonding that made everyone uncomfortable, but no one acknowledged. Claire participated with a smile plastered on her face. She fell backward into Ethan's arms. She solved puzzles with people who'd sat silently while Patricia Caldwell called her judgment into question. She laughed at appropriate moments and played the part of a CEO who wasn't watching her career burn. Daniel watched her the entire time, studying, calculating. At 6, dinner was served. Grilled steaks, roasted potatoes, local vegetables. Claire forced herself to eat. The baby needed nutrition even if her stomach was in knots. After dinner, Daniel stood and clinked his wine glass. Before we head to tonight's bonfire, I wanted to say a few words. His smile was warm, practiced. This company was built on family values, hard work, integrity. My father always said that leadership isn't about power. It's about character. He looked directly at Claire. And character reveals itself in how we handle adversity, in the choices we make when no one's watching. Daniel raised his glass. To Morrison and Drake, may we always choose integrity over convenience. The room echoed the toast. Claire raised her water glass and drank tasting ashes. The bonfire was massive. Logs stacked 8 feet high, flames reaching toward the stars. Someone had set up speakers. Music drifted across the night. Executives gathered in clusters, drinks in hand, faces painted orange by firelight. Claire stood close to Ethan, using his presence as armor. His hand rested at the small of her back. She'd stopped noticing when he touched her. It had become automatic, natural. "This is nice," Jennifer Park said, joining them with a glass of wine. "The fire, the mountains, almost makes you forget we're here to work." "Almost," Claire agreed. Daniel appeared from the darkness like a materialization. "Having fun? Lovely evening," Claire said neutrally. "I'm glad." Daniel's smile never reached his eyes. "I wanted to apologize for this morning's meeting. The board can be intense, but they're only trying to protect the company." "Of course. I hope there's no hard feelings between us, professionally speaking." "None at all." Daniel studied her face like he was reading a contract. "Good, because we're still family here, still a team." He turned to address the larger group, raising his voice over the music. "Hey everyone, gather round. Let's play a game." People drifted closer, curious. Claire felt Ethan tense beside her. "It's simple," Daniel continued. "Secrets. Everyone shares something nobody knows. Nothing too serious, just something real." His eyes sparkled with malice disguised as playfulness. "I'll start. I crashed my dad's Mercedes when I was 16 and blamed it on valet parking." Laughter rippled through the crowd. The confession was charming, harmless, calculated to make everyone else feel safe sharing. It went around the circle. Someone admitted to lying on their resume. Someone else confessed to a college cheating scandal. Small sins offered up like communion wafers. Then it reached Ethan. He stiffened. Claire felt it in the hand at her back. "Come on," Daniel prodded. "Your turn." "I don't think—" Ethan began. "Oh, I've got one for you," Daniel interrupted. His voice carried across the fire. "How about that insurance payout after your wife died? $500,000. Pretty convenient timing, wasn't it?" The conversation died. Every face turned toward them. Claire felt Ethan go rigid beside her. His hand dropped from her back. "Careful," Ethan said quietly. "Dangerously. Just curious." Daniel continued with mock innocence. "Young woman, sudden illness, big policy. I'm sure it was all legitimate, but you have to admit from the outside it looks a little—" He paused. "Suspicious." The silence was absolute. Even the fire seemed to quiet. Claire saw Ethan's face, saw the grief and rage warring there, saw his hands clench into fists, saw him calculate whether hitting Daniel was worth the consequences. She stepped between them. "We're leaving," she said. Her voice cut through the night like a blade. "Claire," Daniel said reasonably, "we're just having fun." "No, you're being cruel. There's a difference." She took Ethan's arm. "Come on." "Actually," Daniel's voice hardened, "you're not going anywhere." He gestured. 2 security guards stepped out of the shadows. Large men in dark suits, out of place at a corporate bonfire. "What is this?" Claire demanded. "Company property was reported stolen this afternoon. Financial records, confidential files." Daniel's smile was gone. "As interim security measure, I'm authorized to search all personal belongings." "You're not interim anything," Claire said. "And you have no authority to search our rooms. Company retreat, company property, company rules." Daniel nodded to the guards. "Gentlemen, please escort Miss Morrison and Mr. Cole to their suites. Conduct a thorough search." The walk back to the lodge was silent, humiliating. 2 guards flanking them like criminals, executives watching from the bonfire with expressions ranging from sympathy to schadenfreude. Claire's mind raced. The USB drives, both of them, hidden in her toiletry bag in the bathroom. Would they search there? Would they know what they were looking for? At the suites, the guards separated them. One took Ethan, one took Claire. "I need to be present during the search," Claire said. "You will be." The guard was professional, polite, thorough. He went through everything: suitcase, drawers, closet, under the bed, behind furniture. He checked laptop bags, purse pockets, jacket linings. Claire stood by the window watching her privacy be violated with systematic efficiency. The guard moved to the bathroom. Her heart hammered. The toiletry bag sat on the counter. Makeup, skincare, 2 USB drives buried beneath. The guard unzipped the bag, looked inside, moved items around. Claire held her breath. He paused. His hand hovered over something. Then he zipped the bag closed. "All clear." Claire nearly sagged with relief. "Thank you," she managed. The guard nodded and left. Through the connecting door, she heard similar sounds. Drawers opening, items being moved. Then silence. The door opened. Both guards emerged. "Nothing found," one reported into his radio. "Copy that." Daniel's voice crackled back. "Return to base." After they left, Claire locked her door and leaned against it, shaking. She'd never felt so violated, so powerless in her own space. The connecting door opened. Ethan stood there, face pale, jaw tight. "You okay?" he asked. "Fine. They found nothing. But Claire..." He held up his phone. "Daniel knows we have something. This was just a message. He's going to escalate." "I know." They stood in charged silence. Then Ethan's phone rang. FaceTime, his parents. He answered. "Hey, Lily's face filled the screen. She was crying, big, hiccuping sobs that made her whole body shake. "Daddy!" Ethan's face went white. "Lily, baby, what's wrong?" "A man came to Grandma's house." Lily's voice was small, terrified. "He knocked on the door, and when Grandpa answered, he said he had a message for you." Claire felt ice flood her veins. "What message?" Ethan asked. His voice stayed calm, but his hands shook. "He said to tell you that little girls should be careful, that bad things can happen when daddies don't listen." Lily sobbed harder. "Daddy, I'm scared." In the background, Claire could hear Ethan's father talking to someone. Police, maybe. His mother's voice high and upset. "Listen to me, sweetheart." Ethan's voice broke but held. "You're safe. Grandma and Grandpa are calling the police right now. No one's going to hurt you, I promise. When are you coming home? Soon, very soon. I want you here now. I know, baby, I know. They talked for another minute. Ethan soothed, promised, lied about how everything was fine. When he finally hung up, his face was carved from stone. They threatened my daughter. Claire felt something break open inside her chest. Ethan, I'm so sorry. I never thought. This isn't your fault. His voice was hard, final. But we're leaving, right now. Pack your things. If we run, I don't care how it looks. Ethan met her eyes. Someone just threatened my 8-year-old daughter. Everything else can burn. She's all that matters. He was right. Claire knew he was right. She grabbed her suitcase and started throwing clothes inside. Laptop, toiletries. The USB drives went into her purse, never leaving her sight again. Ethan did the same in his room, 5 minutes. That's all it took to pack a life down to essentials. How do we get out? Claire asked. They'll be watching the front. Service entrance, through the kitchen. Ethan shouldered his bag. I saw it earlier. Leads to the employee parking lot. Your car or mine? Yours. More range, better in bad weather. They moved quickly, quietly. The lodge was mostly empty. Everyone still at the bonfire or their rooms. They took the service stairs down 3 flights, through the industrial kitchen that smelled of grease and dishwasher steam. The service exit was alarmed but not monitored. It would ping security. They'd have maybe 5 minutes before anyone came looking. Ready? Ethan asked. Claire nodded. He pushed the door open. Cold air rushed in. They ran. The Tesla was parked at the far end of the main lot. Exposed, visible. Claire hit the key fob and the lights flashed. They threw bags in the back and climbed in. Ethan took the wheel without asking. The engine hummed to life, silent and electric. Headlights appeared in the rearview mirror, coming fast. Go, Claire said. Ethan reversed out and accelerated toward the exit. The headlights followed. Got closer. The mountain road was dark, winding. Rain had started again, turning the pavement slick. Ethan drove fast but controlled, taking curves that made Claire's stomach drop. The headlights stayed with them. Who is it? Claire asked. Don't know. Don't care. They flew down the mountain. Trees blurred past. Rain hammered the windshield. The headlights gained. Then Ethan saw it. An unmarked road, barely visible. He hit the brakes and turned hard. The Tesla's tires screamed but held. They shot onto the narrow track into darkness. Behind them, the headlights continued past on the main road, taillights disappearing into rain. Ethan slowed. They were on a logging road, overgrown, barely maintained. But it was away, that's all that mattered. Where does this go? Claire asked. I have no idea. They drove in silence. Rain. Darkness. The road climbing higher into the mountains, away from the lodge, away from Daniel, away from everything. Claire pulled out her phone. No signal. They were too remote. We need to get these files to the SEC, she said. We need to end this. I know where we can go. Ethan's voice was quiet. Somewhere Daniel won't think to look. Somewhere safe. Where? He didn't answer immediately. Just drove jaw-set eyes on the road. Finally, Anna's cabin. Her family's place. It's about 90 minutes from here, off-grid. No one knows about it except me and Lily. Claire understood what he wasn't saying. He was taking her to a place that meant something, a place sacred to his grief, a place he'd kept separate from everything else in his life. Are you sure? She asked softly. I'm sure. They drove deeper into the mountains, into the rain and the dark. running from one threat, toward something neither of them could name. In her purse, the USB drives felt heavy as guilt, as hope, as the weight of everything that had led them here. Claire touched her stomach. 6 weeks. Just cells dividing, a heartbeat forming, but already hers, already worth protecting, already worth running for. Beside her, Ethan drove through the night, his daughter's tears still echoing in his mind. They'd crossed a line tonight. There was no going back. Only forward, together, into whatever came next. The logging road climbed for 30 minutes before connecting to a state highway. Ethan merged onto pavement, and the Tesla's tires found purchase on solid ground. The headlights behind them were long gone. Claire kept checking the mirrors anyway. "We should stop," Ethan said. "Let people know we're safe." He pulled into a gas station. Fluorescent lights harsh against the darkness. 2 pumps. A convenience store with barred windows. The kind of place that existed to serve loggers and hunters and people passing through to somewhere better. Claire tried her phone. 1 bar of service. Enough. She called her father's lawyer first. Left a voicemail. "Martin, it's Claire. I need you to file an injunction against the board first thing Monday morning. I'll explain later. Just trust me." Then she texted Jennifer Park. "Family emergency. Had to leave early. We'll be in touch Monday." Ethan was on his phone talking to his parents. "Is she asleep? Good. Don't tell her I called. I don't want her to worry." Pause. "Yes, the police are there. No, don't let anyone in you don't recognize." His voice cracked slightly. "I'll be home tomorrow, I promise." He hung up and leaned against the car. Rain had stopped, but the air was heavy with moisture. Pine scent, engine oil, the smell of nowhere in particular. "Is she okay?" Claire asked. "She cried herself to sleep. My mom said she wouldn't let go of her stuffed rabbit." Ethan rubbed his face. "She hasn't slept with that thing in 2 years." Claire wanted to say something comforting, something that would make the guilt in his eyes disappear, but words felt inadequate. Instead, she took his hand. They stood in the harsh light holding hands like teenagers while moths battered themselves against the bulbs overhead. "We should keep moving," Ethan said finally. The drive continued. State highway to county road to a gravel track that barely qualified as drivable. Trees pressed close on both sides. The Tesla's headlights carved tunnels through darkness. "How do you even know where we're going?" Claire asked. "I've made this drive 100 times. Anna's parents used to bring us up here every summer. After she died, they gave me the keys." Ethan's voice was distant. "I haven't been back in 3 years." The cabin appeared suddenly. Small, timber frame, covered porch, dark windows like closed eyes. Ethan parked and killed the engine. Silence rushed in. No traffic, no voices, just wind moving through pine trees and the distant sound of water. "This is it," he said. Claire looked at the cabin. It felt like trespassing, like stepping into someone else's memories uninvited. "Ethan, are you sure? Come on." He grabbed their bags and led her to the porch. The key was hidden under a loose board. Old wood, brass lock that stuck until Ethan put his shoulder into it. The door swung open on darkness. Ethan found a light switch. A single bulb illuminated the interior. 1 room, kitchenette against the far wall, stone fireplace, furniture covered in dust sheets, pictures on the walls and frames that hadn't been cleaned in years. Every picture showed Anna laughing on the porch, Anna with young Ethan, both of them sunburned and happy, Anna, pregnant glowing hand on her belly, Anna holding baby Lily, looking exhausted and radiant. Claire stood in the doorway, unable to enter. This was a shrine, a place where grief lived in suspended animation. "I shouldn't be here," she said quietly. Ethan set the bags down and turned to face her. Where else would you be? This is her space. Your space with her. It was. He looked around the cabin. Past tense. His voice carried weight, finality. Anna's been gone 4 years. This cabin has been empty for 3. It's just a building. It's more than that. Yeah. Ethan pulled a dust sheet off the couch. Particles danced in the lamplight. It is, but Anna wouldn't want it to stay a tomb. She'd want it used, lived in. He met Claire's eyes. She always hated waste. Claire stepped inside. The floor creaked under her weight. The air smelled of dust and pine and time standing still. She moved to the fireplace. Above it hung a wedding photo. Anna in white. Ethan in a suit that fit him differently, both of them impossibly young. She was beautiful, Claire said. She was. Ethan stood beside her studying the photo. She was also stubborn and competitive and terrible at cooking. She once set our kitchen on fire making scrambled eggs. Claire smiled despite herself. How? No idea. She had a gift. He touched the frame gently. Everyone remembers the cancer, the brave fight, the tragic ending. They forget she was a person. Flawed, real, annoying sometimes. You loved her. I did, very much. Ethan turned to Claire. But she's gone. And I'm still here, and she'd be furious if I spent the rest of my life treating her memory like it was more important than my actual life. Outside, wind picked up. Trees whispered secrets to each other. I'll build a fire, Ethan said. While he worked, Claire explored. The kitchenette had running water but no power to the stove. The bedroom was small, 1 bed, quilts folded at the foot, more pictures on the nightstand. She returned to the main room. Ethan had a fire going. Orange light pushed back the shadows. The cabin transformed from museum to shelter. There's canned food in the pantry, Ethan said. Soup, chili, nothing fancy. I'm not hungry. You need to eat. Baby needs food even if you don't want it. He was right. Claire sat on the couch while Ethan heated soup on the fire. Tomato basil. From a can, but better than nothing. They ate in silence, watching flames dance across oak logs. What happens now? Claire asked finally. We contact the SEC in the morning. Send them everything. Let them handle Daniel. And the board, they'll fall in line once federal charges are filed. They always do. Ethan set his empty bowl aside. You'll keep your job. Daniel will go to prison. Everything will go back to normal. Will it? Ethan looked at her, really looked. The firelight caught in his eyes, turning them amber and gold. No, he said softly. I don't think it will. The fire crackled. Outside, an owl called. The cabin creaked as it settled for the night. Claire set down her bowl and turned to face him fully. I'm terrified of this baby, of losing my company, of... She hesitated. Of this. This, you, us, whatever this is becoming. Ethan shifted closer. Not touching, but present. What is it becoming? I don't know. I've never been good at needing people. I built my whole life on being self-sufficient, independent, and now, she touched her stomach unconsciously. Now I'm pregnant and unemployed and hiding in a cabin with someone who's probably going to realize I'm a terrible investment. Claire. I mean it. I'm a disaster. My personal life is a scandal. My professional life is imploding. I'm 39 and starting over, and I don't even know how to... Ethan kissed her, not gentle, not tentative. A real kiss, the kind that tasted like tomato soup and desperation and 4 years of loneliness finally breaking. Claire froze for a heartbeat. Then she kissed him back. His hands found her face. Her fingers tangled in his hair. The firelight painted them in shades of amber and shadow. Time dissolved. The world contracted to breath and warmth and the desperate need to be less alone. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Ethan rested his forehead against hers. "You're not a disaster," he said. "You're the bravest person I know." "I'm a mess." "Same thing sometimes." Claire laughed. It came out shaky. "What are we doing?" "I don't know, but I'm tired of pretending I don't want to find out." She kissed him again, slower this time. Learning the shape of his mouth, the taste of him, the way he held her like she was something precious and breakable and worth protecting. They ended up tangled on the couch. Not sex, just closeness. His arms around her, her head on his chest, the steady rhythm of his heartbeat under her ear. "Tell me about her," Claire said into the quiet. "Really tell me, not the sanitized version." Ethan was silent for a long moment. The fire popped and hissed. "She was a kindergarten teacher," he said finally. She believed in using different colored chalk for different subjects because she thought it made learning magical. She collected vintage teacups even though we never had tea. She sang off-key in the shower and left wet towels on the bathroom floor and always forgot to put gas in the car. Claire smiled against his chest. "She sounds wonderful." She was human, which made her wonderful. His hand moved slowly through Claire's hair. When they diagnosed the cancer, she was angrier about missing Lily's first day of school than about dying. That's who she was. Priorities that didn't make sense to anyone but her. What did she say? At the end, she made me promise not to hide, not to let grief make me small. Ethan's voice roughened. She said Lily needed to see that love doesn't end when someone dies. It just changes shape, becomes something different. And you kept that promise. I tried. I showed up for Lily. I worked. I went through the motions. He paused. But I didn't really live, not until a very stubborn CEO asked me not to let her go alone. Claire lifted her head to look at him. That was 3 days ago. I know. Crazy, right? Completely insane. Want to stop? No. They kissed again, slower, deeper, learning each other in firelight and shadow. Eventually, exhaustion won. They dozed on the couch wrapped in blankets that smelled like cedar and thyme. The fire burned low. Outside, the night deepened toward dawn. Claire woke once to find Ethan watching her. "Go back to sleep," he whispered. "You should sleep too." "I will, just—" He brushed hair from her face. "Just wanted to look at you for a minute." "That's creepy." "Little bit." She smiled and closed her eyes. Safe, warm, less alone than she'd been in years. When she woke again, gray light filtered through the windows. Dawn. The fire had died to embers. Ethan was gone. Panic spiked through her chest. She sat up, blanket falling away. "Ethan, out here." She found him on the porch, phone in hand, watching the sun rise over the mountains. The storm had passed. Sky clear and cold. Mist rose from the valley below like breath. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked, joining him. "Didn't want to." He showed her his phone. "I've been uploading the files, both USB drives, everything. Sending it to your SEC contact. Just like that. Just like that." He hit send and the progress bar began. Dr. Patricia Reeves should have everything in about 10 minutes. Claire watched the bar creep across the screen. 70%, 80, 90, 100. "It's done," Ethan said. The words hung in the morning air. Final, irrevocable. Claire's phone buzzed. Patricia Reeves calling back. "That was fast," Claire said, answering. "Jesus Christ, Claire." Patricia's voice was sharp, urgent. "Where did you get these files?" "Long story. Are they legitimate?" "Legitimate. This is a federal case waiting to happen. embezzlement, wire fraud, securities violations, and if these medical trial numbers are real... Patricia's voice dropped. People could have died from this. Are you safe? For now. I'm calling the FBI right now. They'll want to talk to you today. Where are you? Claire gave her the cabin's approximate location. Patricia promised agents within 3 hours. When she hung up, Ethan was watching her. FBI, Claire said. She's bringing the FBI. Good. Daniel's going to know. The second the warrant hits, he'll know we did this. Let him know. He can't touch us now. Ethan's smile was grim. We have the U.S. government on our side. Claire's phone buzzed again. Text from an unknown number. I know what you did. This isn't over. Daniel. Had to be. She showed Ethan. He deleted the message without comment. Coffee, he asked. You have coffee, instant, from 3 years ago. Probably tastes like dirt. Perfect. They went inside. Ethan boiled water on the fire. The instant coffee was exactly as advertised, terrible. They drank it anyway, sitting on the porch steps watching morning paint the mountains in shades of gold and green. What happens now? Claire asked. FBI takes our statements, files charges. Daniel gets arrested. Board panics and reinstates you to avoid liability. Ethan sipped his terrible coffee. You go back to being CEO. I go back to being product manager. Lily goes back to school. Back to normal. Yeah. Except nothing's normal anymore. Ethan looked at her. No, it's not. I don't know how to do this, Claire admitted. The personal stuff, relationship stuff. I've spent 14 years being married to my job, being alone, being fine with that. And now I'm pregnant and falling for someone I work with and I have no idea what I'm doing. Welcome to the club. I've been winging it for 4 years. Claire laughed, set down her coffee and took his hand. We're a disaster. Probably. This is a terrible idea. Definitely. Want to try anyway? Ethan kissed her. Sweet, simple, tasting like bad coffee and new beginnings. Yeah, he said against her lips. I really do. The FBI arrived at 11 a.m. 2 agents in dark suits. Professional. Thorough. They took statements for 3 hours. Recorded everything. Copied the files. Asked questions that made Claire's lawyer instincts twitch. By 2 p.m., they had what they needed. We'll have warrants by tonight, the lead agent said. Daniel Drake will be in custody by morning. The board members who helped him will be facing charges. You did good work here. After they left, Claire and Ethan packed up the cabin, covered furniture, swept floors, washed dishes, erasing evidence of their presence. Before they left, Claire stood in the doorway looking back at the space that had sheltered them. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For sharing this with me. I know what it meant. Ethan locked the door and replaced the key under its board. Anna would have liked you. She always respected people who fought for what mattered. You think I know. He took her hand. Ready to go home, not even a little bit. Me neither. They drove back to Seattle in companionable silence. The city appeared gradually. Trees giving way to suburbs, suburbs to buildings. The familiar skyline rising like old friends welcoming them back. Ethan dropped Claire at her apartment. They sat in the car, neither wanting to move. What do we tell people? Claire asked. The truth, that we're figuring it out as we go. HR is going to have a field day. Probably. The board will make it complicated. They already made it complicated. Claire smiled, leaned across the console and kissed him. I should go. You need to get Lily. Yeah. But he didn't let go of her hand. Claire, yeah. Whatever happens Monday, however this plays out with the company and the board and everything. He squeezed her fingers. "I'm not going anywhere. You might change your mind when you see how messy this gets. I've done messy. Messy doesn't scare me." Famous last words. She kissed him again and climbed out. Watched him drive away before heading inside. Her apartment felt different. Still minimalist, still pristine, but no longer lonely, just empty, waiting to be filled. Claire stood at the window. The Space Needle glowed against the evening sky. Rain had started again. Seattle being Seattle. Her phone buzzed. Ethan. "Lily wants to know if you like pizza. Apparently we're celebrating me being home and she insists you should be there." Claire smiled at the message. Typed back. "What kind of pizza?" "The kind with too much cheese and not enough vegetables. She's 8. Nutrition is optional. I'll be there in 30 minutes. She changed clothes, something casual. Jeans and a sweater, nothing that screamed CEO or scandal or woman having the worst week of her professional life. Just Claire, going to have pizza with someone who made her feel less alone. The drive to Ethan's apartment took 25 minutes. She parked and sat for a moment gathering courage. This was real now. Not pretend. Not corporate theater. Real. She touched her stomach. 6 weeks. Still barely anything. But growing, becoming. Claire took a breath and headed inside. Ethan opened the door before she could knock. Lily stood behind him, gap-toothed smile, bright as sunshine. "You came." Lily bounced on her toes. "Dad said you might be too tired, but I knew you'd come because you always keep promises." "How do you know I keep promises?" Claire asked, kneeling to Lily's level. "Because Dad says so, and Dad doesn't lie." Lily grabbed her hand. "Come on. The pizza's getting cold and I want to show you my butterfly collection." Claire let herself be pulled inside. Into warmth. Into noise. Into a life that looked nothing like her pristine apartment and felt more like home than anything she'd built in 14 years. Ethan caught her eye over Lily's head. Smiled. The kind of smile that said welcome and stay, and we're going to figure this out together. Outside, rain tapped against windows. The city hummed its endless song. And for the first time in as long as she could remember, Claire Morrison wasn't alone. Part 5. 3 months later. Claire stood in her bathroom studying her reflection in the mirror. 14 weeks pregnant. The bump was undeniable now. Her tailored suits required strategic tailoring. Her body was changing in ways that felt both foreign and inevitable. She smoothed the fabric of her navy dress over her stomach. Professional. Confident. Unmistakably pregnant. Today was the day. In the kitchen, Ethan was making breakfast. She could hear him moving around the clink of dishes, the hiss of the coffee maker. He'd started staying over 3 nights a week. Then 4, then most nights. His toothbrush lived in her bathroom now. His laptop shared desk space with hers. They hadn't discussed it. It had just happened. Like morning becoming afternoon. Inevitable. Natural. "Coffee's ready," he called. "Decaf, don't give me that look." Claire emerged from the bedroom. Ethan stood at the counter in dress pants and an undershirt tie draped around his neck. He'd started keeping clothes here, too. "I miss real coffee," she said. "I miss a lot of things. We all make sacrifices." He handed her a mug. "You ready for today?" "No." "Good answer." He kissed her forehead. Honesty is sexy. The past 3 months had been a controlled demolition. Daniel Drake arrested at SeaTac trying to board a flight to Singapore. Federal charges, FBI raids, board members resigning. Stock price tanking then recovering. Media circus. Claire had weathered it all. Press conferences, shareholder meetings, damage control. She'd stood in front of cameras and explained how one man's greed had nearly destroyed everything they'd built. The board had tried to spin it, tried to minimize their involvement, tried to suggest Claire had been complicit. Her lawyers had destroyed that narrative in 48 hours. Now, 3 months later, the emergency board meeting would determine her future, vote on her permanent reinstatement as CEO, or vote to replace her with someone less controversial. Someone who wasn't pregnant and unmarried and dating a subordinate. "What time is Lily getting here?" Claire asked. "My mom's dropping her off at 9. Ethan finished knotting his tie. "She's very excited. She picked out a special dress for the occasion." "Does she know what today is about?" "She knows you're fighting to keep your job. She thinks that's stupid because you're obviously the best at what you do, and anyone who can't see that is dumb." Claire smiled despite her nerves. She said dumb, direct quote. Lily had accepted their relationship with the breezy certainty only children possessed. One day, Claire was Dad's boss. The next, she was Dad's girlfriend. Lily adjusted without missing a beat. The pregnancy announcement had gone similarly. "So the baby will be like my sibling?" Lily had asked, processing. "Kind of," Claire had said carefully. "Half-sibling, technically." "Cool. I always wanted a sister, or a brother. Either works." Just like that. No drama, no complications, just acceptance. Adults could learn something from 8-year-olds. Claire's phone buzzed. Text from Jennifer Park. "Boardroom filling up, media outside. This is really happening." Ethan read over her shoulder. "You've got this. What if they vote no? Then you start your own company and steal all their best people, starting with me." "That's not how it works." "Sure it is. You're Claire Morrison. You wrote the playbook on how this works." He turned her to face him. "You've survived cancer scares, hostile takeovers, a global pandemic, and Daniel Drake. A board vote is nothing." "I've never had a cancer scare." "Metaphorical cancer. The point stands." Claire laughed, set down her coffee and wrapped her arms around him. He smelled like aftershave and laundry detergent and home. "Thank you," she said into his shoulder. "For what? For not letting me go alone. Never." Morrison and Drake Technologies headquarters. 42nd floor. The boardroom, where Claire had spent hundreds of hours making decisions that affected thousands of lives. Today, those lives would decide hers. She entered at 9:55. The room fell silent. 12 board members. New faces where Daniel's allies had resigned. Patricia Caldwell was gone, replaced by Dr. Sarah Chen, a biotech entrepreneur Claire respected. Richard Drake Sr. had stepped down, selling his shares to avoid prosecution. His seat now belonged to an investment firm representative. The room felt different, less hostile, but still uncertain. Claire took her seat at the head of the table. Her seat, the one she'd occupied for 6 years. Through the glass walls, she could see the executive floor. Employees pretending to work while obviously watching. Ethan sat in the observation gallery with Lily. His daughter wore a purple dress with butterflies. She waved enthusiastically. Claire waved back. "Let's begin," Martin Reeves said. He'd been elected interim chairman after Richard's departure. Fair, reasonable, not inclined to let personal bias cloud judgment. "Claire, you requested this meeting. The floor is yours." Claire stood. 14 weeks pregnant in a navy dress that showed everything she'd tried to hide 3 months ago. 14 years ago, I walked into this boardroom with a pitch, she began. Medical technology that saves lives, not just generates profit. Devices that help people, not just shareholders. A company that does well by doing good. She paused. Let the words settle. "You gave me a chance. You funded my vision. Together, we built something that matters. We've helped millions of people, created thousands of jobs, changed the landscape of medical technology. Faces watched her, some sympathetic, some calculating, all listening. 3 months ago, one person's greed nearly destroyed everything we built. Daniel Drake embezzled $8 million, falsified medical trial data, put patients at risk, threatened employees, used company resources to pay gambling debts to dangerous people. She pulled up a presentation. Charts, numbers, FBI reports now public record. The damage he caused is measurable. Stock price dropped 30%. We lost contracts worth $40 million. 3 of our best engineers quit. Patient trust eroded. It will take years to rebuild what he destroyed in months. Claire clicked to the next slide, her vision for recovery. But we can rebuild. We are rebuilding. New partnerships, new products, new leadership in the divisions Daniel corrupted. The company is stronger now than it was 6 months ago. She closed the laptop and faced them directly. I'm not here to defend my personal choices. I'm 39, pregnant and unmarried. I'm dating someone who reports to our COO. My life doesn't fit the image some of you think a CEO should project. Patricia Chen smiled slightly. Others shifted uncomfortably. But my personal life has never interfered with my professional judgment. I have never missed a target, never failed to deliver, never put anything above this company's mission except basic human decency. Her voice strengthened. If you want a CEO who looks good in press photos and makes the old guard comfortable, I'm not your choice. But if you want someone who will fight for this company, who understands the technology, who knows how to lead through crisis, she placed both hands on the table. I'm the only choice you have. Silence. This company taught me something these past 3 months. Leadership isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest, being brave enough to ask for help, being willing to evolve. She touched her stomach unconsciously. I'm evolving. The question is whether this board can evolve with me. Claire sat down. Martin cleared his throat. Thank you, Claire. Board members' questions before we vote. Dr. Chen spoke first. Claire, what's your plan for succession given your situation? Maternity leave, 3 months. Jennifer Park will serve as acting CEO. She's been briefed and is ready. Claire met Chen's eyes. Being pregnant doesn't make me incompetent. It makes me human. Fair enough. James Morrison, no relation, spoke next. What about the relationship with Mr. Cole? HR has flagged it as a potential conflict. Ethan reports to our COO, not to me. We've established clear boundaries. If the board prefers, he can transfer to a different division, but you'd be losing our best product strategist over optics. Noted. More questions. Logistics, strategy, recovery timelines. Nothing about morality clauses or outdated standards. Finally, Martin stood. Board members will vote by ballot. Simple majority carries. You have 5 minutes. The wait was excruciating. Claire stared at her hands, listened to her heartbeat, tried not to think about what came next if they voted no. Through the glass, Ethan caught her eye, gave a small nod. Lily pressed her hands against the window face, scrunched with concentration like she could will the vote to go Claire's way. Martin collected the ballots, counted silently. The vote is 10-2 in favor of retaining Claire Morrison as CEO. Relief crashed through her like a wave. Claire's eyes burned, but she refused to cry. Not here. Not now. Additionally, Martin continued, the board has approved several structural changes. Ethan Cole is promoted to Vice President of Product Development, reporting directly to the COO. The morality clause has been struck from company bylaws effective immediately. And Claire, the board would like to formally apologize for how you were treated during this crisis. He extended his hand. Claire shook it, still processing. Welcome back, CEO Morrison. The observation gallery erupted. Lily shrieked and jumped. Ethan stood grinning like he'd won the lottery. Claire excused herself and walked to them on shaking legs. Lily crashed into her immediately. "You won. I knew you would win because you're the smartest and they'd be super dumb to fire you." "Language," Ethan said mildly. "Dumb isn't a bad word." "Context makes it borderline." Claire laughed and hugged Lily back. The little girl was warm and solid and smelled like grape juice and enthusiasm. "Thank you for being here," Claire said. "Obviously, I was going to be here. This is important." Lily pulled back suddenly, serious. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you love my dad?" The question hit like a hammer. Claire looked at Ethan. He'd gone very still. "Yeah," Claire said softly. "I really do." "Good, because he loves you too. He told me when he thought I was asleep, but I wasn't." Lily grinned triumphantly. "And I think that's cool because Mom would want him to be happy, and you make him happy, and also you're having a baby, which means I get to be a big sister." Claire's throat tightened. "Lily, I want you to know, I'm not trying to replace your mom. She was special. She'll always be special." "I know." Lily said it like it was obvious, simple. "You're different special. That's okay. People can be different kinds of special." Out of the mouths of children. Ethan cleared his throat. "Okay, who wants to celebrate with pancakes?" "It's almost lunchtime," Claire pointed out. "Pancakes transcend time." They left the building through the side entrance, avoiding media. Ethan's car was parked 2 blocks away. Lily chattered the entire walk about butterflies and 2nd grade and how she was going to teach the baby everything important. "Like what?" Claire asked. "Like how to catch fireflies, and which trees are best for climbing. And that broccoli is a conspiracy invented by adults to make kids sad." "That last one isn't true," Ethan said. "Prove it." They drove to a diner Lily loved, sat in a booth with sticky menus and a waitress who called everyone honey, ordered obscene amounts of pancakes and bacon and hash browns. Lily insisted Claire sit next to her so she could protect the baby from secondhand syrup exposure. "That's not a thing," Ethan said. "It could be. We don't know everything about babies." Claire watched them bicker with affection that hurt in the best way. This was family, messy, loud, real. Her phone buzzed constantly. Congratulations texts, meeting requests, media inquiries. She silenced it and focused on pancakes. "So," Lily said through a mouthful of food, "when the baby comes, what's it going to call me? Lily," Claire suggested. "No, like, am I a sister, half-sister? What's the official title? What do you want to be called?" Lily considered this gravely. "Big sister, because I'll be the big one, and that's important for teaching purposes." "Big sister it is." "Cool." Lily returned to her pancakes crisis resolved. After breakfast, Ethan drove Claire back to her apartment. Lily had fallen asleep in the backseat, syrup, sticky and content. "You want me to come up?" Ethan asked. "I need a nap. This day has been exhausting." "Understandable." He squeezed her hand. "I'm proud of you." "For what? For fighting, for winning, for being brave enough to let people see you're human." Claire kissed him. Soft, sweet, tasting like coffee and maple syrup and new beginnings. "I love you," she said. The words felt strange, foreign, right. Ethan smiled. "I love you too, have for a while now. Since when? Since you stood in that overlook and trusted me with everything that could destroy you." He touched her face gently. "That's when I knew. Took you long enough. Some things are worth waiting for." She kissed him again and climbed out, watched him drive away before heading inside. Her apartment felt different now. Less pristine, more lived in. Ethan's jacket on the chair, his books on the shelf, evidence of shared life gradually accumulating. Claire stood at the window. The city spread below her, 42 floors up. The view that had once made her feel powerful now just made her feel small in the best way. Part of something bigger, connected. Her phone buzzed. Ethan, a photo. Lily asleep in the car, head tilted back, mouth open. The caption read, "Your family, if you want it." Claire smiled and typed back, "I want it." She set the phone down and touched her stomach. 14 weeks. A person growing inside her. Cells dividing, heart beating, life becoming. 3 months ago, this pregnancy had felt like the end of everything. Now it felt like the beginning. Outside, rain started again. Seattle being itself. Constant, reliable, home. Claire pulled out her laptop. Work emails waiting. Decisions to make. A company to rebuild. But first a nap. Because Ethan was right. Growing a human was exhausting work. She lay down on the couch and closed her eyes. Listened to rain tap against windows. Let herself drift. Safe. Loved. No longer alone. 6 months later, Claire stood in the hospital room holding her daughter. Emma Cole Morrison. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Perfect. Ethan sat beside the bed, looking exhausted and awed. Lily perched on the chair studying her baby sister with intense concentration. "She's really small," Lily observed. "You were that small once," Ethan said. "Weird." Claire couldn't stop staring. Emma's tiny fingers, her impossible smallness, the way she fit perfectly in the crook of Claire's arm. "Can I hold her?" Lily asked. "Wash your hands first." Lily bounded to the sink, scrubbed thoroughly, returned, and held out her arms. Claire transferred Emma carefully. Lily settled into the chair, supporting the baby's head like they'd practiced. "Hi, Emma," she whispered. "I'm your big sister. I'm going to teach you everything important, like butterflies and climbing trees and how pancakes are acceptable for any meal." Ethan caught Claire's eye, smiled. The kind of smile that said, "Look what we made." Not just Emma. This. Family. Something built from crisis and courage and choosing to trust. Claire's phone buzzed. Jennifer Park. Board approved the new product line. Stock up 12%. You're a genius. Get some rest. She set the phone down. Work could wait. Emma yawned. Lily gasped like she'd witnessed a miracle. "Did you see that?" She yawned. Emma, do it again. "She's not a trained SEAL," Ethan said. "But she could be. We don't know her talents yet." Claire laughed, winced. Childbirth had been no joke. Ethan stood and kissed her forehead. "How are you feeling?" "Like I pushed a human out of my body." "Fair assessment." Through the window, Seattle glowed in evening light. The Space Needle, Elliott Bay, Mount Rainier in the distance. The city that had been her home for 20 years. Now it would be Emma's home too. "We should take a family photo," Lily announced, "for Emma's baby book. So she knows what her family looked like when she was brand new." "Good idea," Claire said. Ethan pulled out his phone, set it on the table with a timer, joined them on the bed. Lily held Emma. Ethan wrapped his arm around Claire. They smiled. The camera clicked. Later, looking at that photo, Claire would remember this moment. Would remember feeling complete in a way she'd never felt before. Would remember thinking that sometimes the best things came from the worst circumstances. That asking for help wasn't weakness. That family wasn't always blood. Sometimes it was choice. Sometimes it was an 8-year-old girl who decided you were worth keeping. A man who saw past your armor to the person underneath. A baby who made you believe in beginnings. Perfect, Lily said, studying the photo. We look like a real family. We are a real family, Ethan corrected gently. I know. That's what I said. Emma made a small sound, not quite a cry, just an announcement of existence. Claire touched her daughter's cheek. Soft, impossibly soft. Welcome to the world, Emma, she whispered. You're going to do amazing things. Outside, rain began to fall. Seattle rain, constant and cleansing and full of promise. And in a hospital room on the 8th floor, a family that had built itself from broken pieces watched the city lights come on one by one, painting the world in shades of gold. Beginning again. Together, home. The end.